Welcome back to Ralph's Sorta True Stories. We're going to pick on Bubba, or rednecks, or backwoods folks. Now, I'm allowed to do that, I suppose, because if you've been one of them, I guess you're allowed to pick on them. And I've lived in the Deep South for a number of years in my life, and I rode horses all across all these deserts out here with a fellow named Bubba. Did that for over 20 years, so here's all the Bubbas, and we're going to tell some sort of true stories. Now, this one old boy, he got into college. No one in his family had ever been to college before, and he was in one of these big freshman lecture halls, you know, where they got all the seats stacked up and wrap around, and there's a guy down there giving a lecture on parapsychology or something, you know, dealing with ghosts and all that stuff, ESP and all, and he's just trying to survey the audience, see, you know, who he's got there, and he kind of asks, he says, who in the audience here believes in ghosts? Well, probably more than half people raise their hands. And he said, well, all right, he says, how many here think that they've seen a ghost? And, you know, a lot of people raised their hands. And he said, okay. Now, for those of you who've seen a ghost, how many of you thinks you could have sex with the ghost? And only one guy in the back, Bubba, it was Bubba, he raised his hands. And he said, son, you know, come on down here to the platform. So Bubba goes down all the steps and he says, what's your name? He said, it's Bubba. He said, Bubba, you think you could have sex with a ghost? Oh, with a ghost? Oh, no, sir, I was sitting way back there in the back. I thought you were talking about goats. Yeah, you can have sex with goats. Well, that's prolonging the stereotype, isn't it? And we'll probably prolong it a little longer. Since I know up there in Montana, where I've also lived, this isn't just limited to, you know, to the Deep South and the Creole country and all that kind of stuff. He says, I know up in Montana, there's parts of Montana up there where the noise a sheep is the most afraid of is a zipper. But speaking of down in Creole country, there's an old bayou bar that's down south of Louisiana, south of New Orleans, way down there. And one day, this fella comes walking in there. He's got a sports coat on, a white shirt, no tie, but he's got slacks, and he walks in, and I'll tell you, all the patrons in there look like they just came out of the Ducks Dynasty cast. I mean, they're there, some of them have teeth, some of them don't, all of them have beards, you know, all of them are dressed in, you know, something like coveralls, and, you know, none of them are too clean or smell too good. This guy walks up to the bar, and he says, pardon me, sir, do you have white wine? Well, this bar ain't had white wine ever. The bartender says, you're not from around here, are you? He said, no, sir, I'm not. I'm from Canada. Canada. He said, Beaufort, Canada. Isn't that a whole other country? Yes, sir. That's Canada. That's the country to our north. He said, yeah, Beaufort knows. He's sort of our intellectual. What do you do up there in Canada? He said, I'm a taxidermist. Taxidermist. Beaufort, what the hell is a taxidermist? He said, you know, I don't rightly know what a taxidermist is. So he turns back to the Canadian. He says, so what is a taxidermist? He said, oh, that's a fellow that mounts animals. He said, all right, boys, settle down. He's one of us. I'm not sure they quite still understand what the word meant. As I said one time in an earlier segment, that one time I was kind of one of these junior executives. Well, it wasn't a big business, but it was a good business. And the boss man, he was smart. He was country smart. He didn't have a lot of book learning. He wasn't real good about mathematics. So he had one little problem he was trying to figure out. And he says to his secretary, he says, help me with this. He says, if I was to give you $20,000 minus 14%, how much would you take off? She says, well, I reckon all except maybe my earrings. I got one last little story. This is more of a hillbilly story. more a West Virginia story. You know, up there in West Virginia and into Kentucky and all, they got these areas called hollers. And all a holler is a very deep valley with kind of a steep mountain range on each side. And very often down at the bottom of the holler, there's a river running through it. And in West Virginia, this one place, they had such a setup like that. And on one side of the river lived Clarence. And on the other side of the river, on the other mountain, lived Buford. And Buford and Clarence were sort of like the Hatfields and McCoys. They were always fighting and yelling and threatening. And Clarence would run over. He'd say, "Buford, if I ever get over to that side of the mountain, I'm going to kick your butt up one side and back down the back side of that mountain." And Buford would say, "Clarence, if I ever get over there, I'm going to jump down your throat and I'm going to tap dance on your liver." And they went back and forth like this. Well, one day, Buford's wife comes to him and he says, "Honey, Department of Transportation just built a bridge across the river just about 2 miles down." He said, "Now you can get over there and you can take care of that Clarence like you've been wanting to do all of your life." He said, "I'm on my way. Don't hold me back. I'm going right now." And he was out of the door, but he was back in about a half an hour. And his wife said, "Well, that didn't take very long, did it? Get rid of that old Clarence you've been wanting to kick his butt all these years." He said, "I rethought that situation entirely, and I did not cross that bridge." He says, "You didn't? Why didn't you cross that bridge?" "Well, I got up to it, and right underneath that bridge it said, 'Clarence, 13 feet 6 inches. I don't think I want no part of that man." So anyway, those are some country stories. Hope you appreciated them. I do appreciate you stopping by Ralph's Sorta True Stories. Before you go, I want you to get down there on the bottom if you ain't already done it. And there's a thumbs up button to punch, and there's a subscribe button to punch, and there's a bell symbol. You hit on that, and you know what? Whenever we post the next video, we're going to send it on out to you. And I thank you once again for watching Ralph's Sorta True Stories. Thank you very much.